Disclaimer: Lore Olympus is a retelling slash reimagining of the Greek story of Hades and Persephone. Therefore, their character chart placement is dependent on their actions in the webtoon and not on their history. Thank you. With the king of gods out of the way, I wanted to talk about someone who's actually very interesting. I mentioned her last time. The goddess of love, beauty, pleasure, and procreation, Aphrodite. Now, surprisingly or unsurprisingly, the goddess of all those things starts out being a very petty goddess. But that's to be expected. You see, Aphrodite appears right near the beginning of the story, when Hades falls head over heels for Persephone. He, for some reason, needs to compare the two goddesses. Honestly, I think she puts Aphrodite to shame. Now, Hades. You should never compare two girls in the first place. But Hades decides to be not only the king of the underworld, but also being the king of idiots. Because he compared a goddess to the goddess of love and beauty. Imagine you're the god or goddess of something, and then some other god comes in and says someone else is better at that thing that you most likely created, or at least pioneered. So yeah, Aphrodite is clearly and understandably mad. But what she does might be crossing a line. But while I explain what she does, notice how she does it. First, she calls in her son Eros, god of love. Think Cupid with a little more bloodshed. And then gets Persephone, well, very drunk, which is probably illegal. And then later hides Persephone in Hades' car. According to Aphrodite, we're gonna hide her in his car. Once he gets home, he'll find her. She'll be super drunk and do a buttload of embarrassing stuff. He'll think she's totally gross. I'm a big stupid idiot and Aphrodite was the most beautiful goddess. Now you might think this is the rambling of a mad and jealous goddess, and you'll be right, but to her, it's about respect. Aphrodite is clearly upset at Hades, and brings Persephone into mix just to get back at him. But notice something. Notice what Aphrodite physically and actually does, which is nothing. Aphrodite chooses to make her son do all the work. In fact, she brings this up, and yet again I apologize, but I'm gonna censor her speech. Check that sassy attitude, Mr. Man. You still owe me big after that bullcrap you pulled with Psyche. You wanna see her, right? That brings up the Psyche situation, but before that, while Aphrodite seems to be a not great mother, it's more that she cares about her deals. If she can make deals with people, then she expects them to fulfill their side of the agreement. A great example I already used last time is with Zeus. When Eros is heartbroken and goes on a killing spree, Zeus discusses with Aphrodite and Eros about his punishment. Aphrodite offers something else up. Now, what can you offer the king of gods? Well, it's Zeus. You can offer sex, which she does. Instead of letting Eros be punished, she bit the bullet. Now, I'm sure Zeus has experience, but the man has slept with so many women that he might actually be mistaken for a woman. Because, the hair. Anyways, Aphrodite's pettiness hasn't reached its limits, which brings us to Psyche. Now, we're introduced to Psyche with a conversation between Eros and Aphrodite. I need you to do something for me. The mortals are claiming there is a woman who is more beautiful than me. Psyche. Remember, I want you to make her fall in love with the ugliest of creatures you can find. However, problems arise when Eros sees the life that Psyche is living. Feeling pity for the mortal, he takes her to live with him. And eventually, they get together. I'll talk about this more when I get to Eros, but problems arise when Psyche's sister come over and try to convince Psyche to kill Eros. And when she does, she sees that he's a god, according to Eros, and she begged for forgiveness. But it was too late. She had caused me to suffer the worst wound known to man. Heartbreak. I fled and went to my mother, who consoled me. She said she would make a deal with Psyche for me. if I agree to stop pursuing her. Now, this seems like Aphrodite is a super sweet and caring mom. She cares about her son and is consoling him through a heartbreak. But we see that she isn't afraid to blackmail her own son. In that same moment, Eros continues. But now I feel like I overreacted. I want to see her. But mom won't tell me where Psyche is. And she's using her against me. First, blackmail kind of hurts you from a moral standpoint. But apparently she's blackmailing her own son? That's pretty low, even for Greek gods. I even mentioned this earlier. That's why Eros helps Aphrodite put Persephone in Hades' car. You want to see her, right? But what happened to Psyche? Well, we get to see that when Aphrodite goes to Psyche. She confronts her. My son is an idiot, but you're the person that changed him. He was never meant to have a broken heart. I think this calls for a strange and elaborate punishment. And when Psyche asks, are you going to kill me? Aphrodite responds, not today. You and I are going to do a little experiment. I want to know how much my son really loves you. Now, this punishment could just be to see if this lady is worthy of your son. But we see a little bit before, we see why Aphrodite is so willing to sleep with Zeus and keep Psyche. I'm going to deal with this for you, but you have to help me no matter what I ask, okay? I mean it. You jump. How high? Got it. Aphrodite likes having people in her debt. She likes making deals with people and making people keep their end of the deal, making them do her dirty work without her breaking any rules. And we also get to see her nice to Persephone. Now imagine you trapped a young goddess in the car of the king of the underworld and the god of the dead. Someone who's been around for more than 2,000 years. You might be a little regretful. You may even apologize for your terrible and ruthless actions. But I guess the goddess of love and beauty, Aphrodite, has a different way to be kind and apologetic. When Persephone is at the home of Eros, Aphrodite appears and kind of digs into Persephone's personality and almost immediately suspects a crush on Hades without missing a beat. And when Persephone tries to leave, Aphrodite goes on a little bit of a rant. And again, I'm gonna censor. Sit your butt down. I am not done yet. Nymphs do not take gods from us. Letting that nymph take something that you want is an embarrassment to our kind. Stop being so passive. It's annoying. Now get out. And don't tell anyone I was nice to you. And to Persephone's confusion, she asks, wait, you were being nice to me? That's Aphrodite's nice. Yelling at you, cursing at you, calling you annoying and passive. Granted, nice is subjective, but we can see her nice and other people's form of nice isn't, well, it's much different. Which finally brings us to her character chart placement. Now, I've been really rude to Aphrodite. Granted, I think it's all been justified. She gets a young goddess drunk, locks her in the car of Hades. You know, the guy who is in charge of all of Underworld. I know he's a good guy, but I think any one of us would be terrified to spend any amount of time with him. She sleeps with a married god, uses her son's significant other against him. All these things add up to a kind of bad person. Don't get me wrong, she's not the worst. There are many who are worse. But from the characters that I'm analyzing, she's very near the bottom. But what's more interesting is the way she hurts people. Through the use of deals and offers. She never does dirty work herself. She never gets Persephone drunk. She doesn't pick the car of Hades. Even when she's sleeping with Zeus, it's a way to avoid punishment. She plays dirty, but really doesn't break the rules directly. Which is why I'm putting Aphrodite into lawful evil. Now, evil is a really mean term, but I think it's fitting for the actions that she's committed. By using rules and loopholes to get what she wants. Because in the end, as she explains to Hades, that's not the point. You were rude. It's about respect. Aphrodite is petty, but that kind of makes sense. beauty is only skin deep. And when that's really the one thing that you have, of course you would feel threatened when someone might be better at it than you. Sure, locking them in a car drunk is definitely an overreaction, but understandable. Did I miss anything? Do you think this placement is wrong? If so, leave it in the comments below. But like always, thank you for watching.